From the mysterious wreckage of a World War II vessel to a wall of hungry, vicious sharks, here are 10 of the craziest and most unbelievable things ever found by divers. Number 10. World War II Wreckage. In Canada, an amateur diver stumbled upon the amazing wreckage of an old airplane dating all the way back to World War II. The diver found the wreckage at the bottom of Lake Simon in the province of Quebec. According to the provincial police force, the diver managed to capture images of a large mass that resembled an airplane. From what anyone could tell, the plane had definitely been submerged for a significant amount of time. The diver also says he found kerosene barrels on board the airplane and even touched the propeller with his own hands. But just what kind of plane was this and how did it end up on the lake? There wasn't exactly fighting going on in Canada during the war. The diver suggested the vehicle was a Late Corps 631 type seaplane, something that would have been used for short voyages across the lake. This was not really a lean, mean war machine and definitely wouldn't have seen any action. Instead, it was probably just a local seaplane that happened to crash during World War II and sink, though nobody can say why it crashed and no one has ever come forward yet to claim the plane for themselves. Number 9. Underwater settlement. In Switzerland, at the bottom of Lake Lucerne, divers have discovered a prehistoric pile of rubble suggesting humans lived inside the lake roughly 3,000 years ago. According to the Smithsonian magazine, the construction of a pipeline is what led to underwater archaeologists examining the bottom of the lake bed. This was when they discovered roughly 30 wooden poles and a handful of ceramic fragments 13 feet or 3.9 meters deep. These were the obvious remains of some kind of settlement that had once been there. It wasn't a settlement of mermaids, of course, which is a slight bummer, I know. The structures had been built before water found its way into what is the lake today, back when the water level was 16 feet, almost 5 meters lower. But here's the most shocking part of the discovery. Until now, experts believe the city of Lucerne was only 1,000 years old. The city is built along the outskirts of the lake. But it turns out the city has history going all the way back to 1000 BC. It's just that the first 2,000 years of the city's history have been covered up by their beloved lake. It looks like the city began in the lake and slowly spread up and around as water levels rose, gradually submerging the city's prehistoric history. A giant anaconda. Professional shark diver and underwater videographer Bartolomeo Bove was diving in the Formoso River of Brazil when he came face to face with an Amazonian anaconda. This is obviously the last thing anyone would want to discover while diving in a river, and the diver must have been absolutely terrified. The anaconda is arguably the most dangerous predator in all of the Amazon jungle. It is so strong that it can very easily coil itself around a fully grown person and crush their bones before swallowing them whole. And yet, according to the dodo, Bartolomeo had dived into the river with the express purpose of meeting the largest living snake in the world. Psycho much? Just kidding. Well, he got his wish. The creature emerged from the murky depths of the river and just about killed him. You're probably wondering how big the anaconda was. After all, you'd have to be crazy to go swimming with a fully grown serpent of this caliber. Anacondas love living in the South American rivers because they can maneuver their massive bodies more easily and therefore have an easier time killing. The snake in this case was 23 feet or 7 meters long and over 200 pounds, 90 kilos. But the diver still managed to escape with his life. As far as anyone can tell, the snake must have had a full belly already. It approached the diver, sniffed his camera, flicked its tongue just inches from his face, then swam away, and it couldn't have cared less. It was an unbelievable experience. No words can do justice to the sensations that I was really feeling during that experience, Bove said. How would you react if you came face to face with the biggest snake in the world while underwater? Let us know in the comments section below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Number 7. The missing diver. In Lake Tahoe, the mystery of a diver who went missing almost 20 years ago was recently solved. The body of Donald Christopher Whitaker was pulled from Lake Tahoe in late July, just 4 days after a group of divers stumbled upon his preserved corpse while exploring 270 feet or 82 meters below the surface. Lake Tahoe straddles the border with California and Nevada. Donald was last seen diving into the lake on July 10, 1994. He never resurfaced and nobody ever figured out what happened to him. considering Lake Tahoe reaches insane depths of up to 1,645 feet, that's over 500 metres. Recovering his body proved an almost impossible task back in the 90s. The divers who recently discovered him said it was like finding a needle in a haystack. It was a complete fluke that they even spotted his body in the deep darkness at all. What's truly amazing is how well preserved Donald's body was after 2 long decades. Because the water always stays at a constant 36 to 38 degrees, his body remained protected from the elements and looked almost exactly as it did back in 1994. Creepy. Number 6. Lion Tooth. In South Carolina, a hobby diver discovered something very rare while exploring the Cooper River. Now, we've all heard of divers finding megalodon teeth. The teeth of these prehistoric sharks seem to be everywhere, as they literally swam all over the world. But to switch things up a bit, Eric Prull discovered a fossilized tooth of a large land predator. At first, Eric thought he had come across the fossilized tooth of an American lion, a great beast that went extinct in the Americas between 10,000 and 12,000 years ago. These huge lions lived all the way from Canada to Mexico, alongside mammoths and the prehistoric tribes of North America. This was a time when even the giant ground sloths could be found roaming across the land. But all these giant species went extinct at the end of the most recent ice age, when Earth's temperature began to heat up dramatically and humans began to spread across the globe. Years ago, American lions were thought to be giant versions of modern lions, but more recent studies have shown they were actually more similar to jaguars and tigers. But in the end, it turned out the tooth hadn't actually belonged to a lion at all. After being inspected by several paleontologists, the fossil was identified as a tooth from a giant sloth-faced bear, yet another massive predator that used to live in North America but has since gone extinct. Still pretty cool though. Number 5. Great Lakes Shipwreck. In Lake Michigan, 67-year-old Steve Liebert discovered the wreckage of a mysterious French ship. As an experienced diving enthusiast, Steve spent years trying to piece together the clues from the last days of this legendary ship so that he could track down its final resting place. He was unsuccessful for the majority of his life, and then one day, just recently, he found the ship completely by accident. At least he believes the ship he found is the infamous Griffin, constructed back in 1679 and destroyed the same year after sinking somewhere in the Great Lake. It was a glorious day. The ship, found by Steve, is definitely from the colonial era. However, it hasn't officially been confirmed as the Griffin, since there wasn't much in the way of artifacts to be discovered. The ship's hull was found broken on the seabed and surrounded by shattered pieces of timber. The problem is that the vessel has been lost for 300 years and there's really no way to properly identify it. All the experts can do is shrug and say, maybe. Though for Steve, he feels like he's done his due diligence and that after a lifetime of searching, he's finally found the mysterious ship. I think we can let Steve have this one. What do you think? Number 4. The Horror GoPro. Rich Aloha was diving in a lake in Tennessee when he discovered a GoPro. At first, he simply thought he had found a free camera. GoPros are not cheap pieces of equipment. It wasn't until he got the GoPro home and took out the memory card that he realised he had found the haunting last moments of a man named Richard Raglan, who back in 2017 had accidentally slipped into the water at the lake and drowned. What nobody knew is that Richard had filmed his final moments on the GoPro, which ended up sinking to the bottom of the lake with him. The GoPro sat down there for years before being found by Rich while he was just out looking for treasure. As you can imagine, Rich was stunned after watching the heartbreaking footage. He reached out to Raglan's family and was happy to return the GoPro, providing a small bit of closure to the family members. They were just as stunned as Rich to receive the call, but also happy to have back a small piece of the man they'd lost so tragically. Number 3. Mammoth Bones. A pair of scuba divers in Florida found a giant bone at the bottom of a river. It was the discovery of a lifetime. Derek Demeter and Henry Sadler never expected to find the 50-foot or 15-metre long mammoth bone, a single femur sticking out of the sand that proved to be roughly 4 feet or 1.2 metres in length. The bone was so big it's hard to imagine how large the rest of the mammoth was when it was still alive. According to Derek himself, holding the fossil of such a giant animal and realising that a creature of that magnitude had once roamed the state of Florida when the state was a fertile grassland gave him a sense of indescribable wonder. He said it almost felt like time travelling and made his imagination go wild. But the pair had never set out to find the mammoth remains. Instead, they were actually looking for shark teeth. They found the huge bone completely by accident. They believe it belonged to what is known as a Columbian mammoth, which according to the National Park Service inhabited Florida starting 2.6 million years ago, but went extinct about 10,000 years ago after possibly being hunted to death by early humans. Number 2. Lost engagement ring. After being engaged for a whopping 2 days, Rebecca Shocria lost her wedding ring. It slipped off her finger while swimming with her fiancé in Lake Windermere. The couple watched helplessly as the ring sank to the bottom of the lake, out of sight and impossible to get back. There was nothing they could do except stare into the water in complete disbelief. Hey, I don't know about you guys, but wearing your brand new engagement ring while you swim in a lake doesn't exactly sound like the brightest idea. Luckily for them, divers love finding stuff at the bottom of lakes. The couple got in touch with a local dive company who rushed over immediately to help them get their ring back from the evil clutches of the lake. Amazingly, it took divers just 20 minutes of searching underwater with a metal detector to find the engagement ring. The couple was obviously super happy about the easy discovery, but it kind of makes you wonder. I mean, just how easy is it to find rings and jewellery lost in lakes with a metal detector? Seems like something that could be a seriously good investment. Number 1. Wall of sharks. A scuba diver was shocked after being confronted by a wall of over 200 sharks while swimming off the coast of Australia. Anita Ong was diving off North Stradbroke Island when she discovered 200 dusky sharks had created an impenetrable wall in front of her. It was as if they had formed an army and were about to go to war. They were staggered in formation and there was nothing she could do to get past them. And if she tried, there was a possibility they would converge and tear her apart. She told the Daily Mail Australia that in 11 years of diving she had never seen anything like it. The wall of sharks was absolutely terrifying. Luckily, dusky sharks are known for being non-aggressive and skittish around humans. They never actually attacked Anita, and she said she didn't feel threatened by them at all, even though they had formed a horrifying wall of death and teeth around her. She eventually moved to the surface and the sharks never even took notice of her. But Anita was lucky. This happened in 2020, in the middle of a very deadly year for Australian shark attacks, with at least 7 fatalities having been recorded already at the time. Thanks for watching. What would you love to find while scuba diving? Let me know in the comments section down below and be sure to hit that subscribe button and tune in for more awesome videos. See you next time. Bye.